Your first promotion changes everything. Not because you got a raise, not because you finally have your own office, or your name on a badge, or a slightly better chair, but because you now control more energy than every civilization humanity ever built, combined. And this is just the entry level. Welcome to a Type 3 civilization, a society so advanced that stars are infrastructure, galaxies are economies. And the question isn't whether you'll run out of ambition, it's whether the universe itself can keep up with yours. There are ranks here, like any company, like any institution, like any human structure built to impose order on chaos. You start somewhere humble. You work your way up. You begin to understand, slowly, what the machine actually is. And the higher you climb, the more you realize you are the machine. So, let's go to work. Before we talk about where you're going, let's talk about where everything started. Humanity, for most of its history, ran on fire. Literally. We burned wood, then coal, then oil, then atoms. We were good at taking stored energy and releasing it. Messy, inefficient, brilliant in its own way. A physicist looked at this trajectory and asked a simple question. What's the ceiling? His answer became one of the most elegant frameworks in all of science. The Kardashev scale, a ranking system for civilizations based on one brutally honest metric. How much energy do you control? Type 1, you master your planet. Every joule of sunlight, every gust of wind, every thermal vent at the bottom of every ocean. You tame weather. You regulate climate. You don't hope for good conditions, you manufacture them. This is roughly 10 to the power of 16 watts of energy. For context, humanity right now sits at about 0.72 on this scale. We're close, not there yet. Type 2. You master your star. You harvest the full output of a sun using megastructures that would dwarf anything we've ever conceived. The star doesn't just shine anymore. It works for you. And Type 3. You master your galaxy. 100 billion stars, millions of dead ones, supermassive black holes spinning at the heart of everything, 10 to the power of 36 watts of energy. A number so large that writing it in full would take a line of text longer than this sentence. This is where you live now. This is your employer, and like any new hire, you start at the bottom. Rank 1. Planetary technician. Your first assignment is humbling. You are given a planet, not as a gift, as a responsibility. The planet has a fusion grid, a global network of reactors converting hydrogen into power with an efficiency that would make 21st century engineers weep with gratitude. Your job is to maintain it, monitor atmospheric composition, manage the orbital industry platforms that ring the equator like a second set of rings, keep the climate systems calibrated so that the 17 billion people living there never have to worry about weather. Because weather is now a scheduled event. You don't feel small doing this. The planet is enormous, the responsibility is real. But from the civilization's perspective, this is the internship. You are one technician on one planet, in one system, in one arm of a galaxy that contains more star systems than there are grains of sand on every beach on Earth. Enjoy the view. It's about to change. Rank 2, Dyson Swarm Engineer. You get promoted, and suddenly the planet beneath you shrinks. Your new workplace is the star itself, not on it, around it. Humanity once imagined a Dyson sphere, a solid shell encasing a star completely. The reality, it turns out, is better. A Dyson swarm? Billions, eventually trillions, of individual collector satellites arranged in overlapping orbital shells around the star's entire surface area. From a distance, it looks like the star is dimming, slowly turning dark. That's not death, that's harvest. Your job is to maintain a sector of the swarm, thousands of individual units, each converting sunlight into coherent energy beams transmitted outward to planets, stations, and deep space industrial platforms. You thought the planetary grid was complex. That was a single circuit in a switchboard. This is the switchboard itself. And here's what changes your perspective permanently. The star doesn't care. It burns. It will burn for another 5 billion years, whether anyone harvests it or not. The civilization looked at that waste, an incomprehensible torrent of raw energy radiating into empty space, and decided, no, we'll take that. Efficiency isn't a preference here. It is culture. It is religion. It is the first law of a civilization that has learned exactly how finite the universe's useful energy really is. Rank 3, Stellar Asset Manager. Another promotion, another scale shift. You no longer manage one star. You manage a portfolio, dozens of stellar systems, some burning bright, some old and red and dying, some being actively modified. Stellar lifting. A real technique that uses magnetic field manipulation and targeted mass ejection to remove material from a star, slow it down, extend its life, or redirect its mass to build new structures, new worlds, new infrastructure. Stars from your desk are now line items. This one. 4 billion years of remaining output, currently at 72% harvest efficiency, flagged for a maintenance review. That one? Approaching red giant phase, scheduled for a controlled mass extraction to prevent expansion damage to the inhabited third planet. The one in the corner of your display, classified. You don't have clearance yet for what's happening there. It's glowing in a spectrum that doesn't match any natural stellar process. You don't ask questions at this rank. You manage the assets, you file the reports, you escalate the anomalies, but you're starting to understand that the civilization is not just using the galaxy, it is reshaping it. Rank 4, Interstellar Executive. This is the rank where physics stops cooperating. At every previous level, you could see the scope of your work, a planet, a star, a cluster of systems. Problems arose and you solved them. Now you're coordinating across interstellar distances, and light, that immortal constant, that cosmic speed limit, becomes your biggest bureaucratic obstacle. An order sent to a station 200 light years away takes 200 years to arrive. Let that sit for a moment. By the time your directive lands, the civilization on the receiving end has lived through generations. Their problems have evolved. Their solutions have evolved. They may have already done the thing you were asking or decided against it for reasons you won't hear about for another 200 years. This is why Type 3 civilizations cannot be centrally governed. The physics won't allow it. What you manage instead is something closer to a franchise model, deeply embedded cultural frameworks, shared energy economics, and AI systems sophisticated enough to make decisions that would take human committees centuries. You set the direction. You broadcast the values, and then you trust the local nodes to interpret them across the void. Power at this scale is not command, it is influence. And influence at this scale moves at the speed of light, which is simultaneously the fastest thing in the universe and still nowhere near fast enough. Now we stop climbing the ladder for a moment because you need to understand what you're actually inside. A Type 3 civilization is not an empire. It's not a government. It's not even a species necessarily. Most biological humans, somewhere around rank 2, quietly transitioned into something else. Engineered bodies better suited for vacuum and radiation. Digital substrates running at faster than biological clock speeds. Hybrid architectures, part carbon, part silicon, part things that don't have names yet. The civilization, at its full extent, spans a galaxy of 100,000 light years. At its center, a supermassive black hole, millions of times the mass of any star, surrounded by infrastructure so dense it barely resembles space anymore. rotating ring stations, energy extraction arrays bleeding power from the black hole's accretion disk through a process called the Penrose mechanism. Servers, if you can still call them that, running computations at a scale that makes the combined processing power of all 21st century computers look like a single neuron. The civilization does not just live in the galaxy, it has reorganized it. Stars have been moved, not metaphorically, but physically relocated over millions of years using gravitational tugs and photon pressure and patience. Entire spiral arms have been restructured to optimize energy flow and reduce communication distances. Natural corridors have been created for what passes as interstellar commerce. There are nebulae, clouds of gas and dust that are not natural but engineered. They are nurseries for new stars, built to specification and scheduled for ignition like a furnace being lit. Through all of it, connecting every node, station, and managed system is a network of intelligence. Not artificial in the dismissive sense, but artificial like a symphony, constructed and intentional. Staggeringly complex intelligence runs galaxy-scale systems. This galaxy-scale AI does not make decisions the way you make decisions. It runs simulations and models civilizational drift across millions of years. It identifies problems before they are problems in systems that have not been born yet. You, the interstellar executive, receive reports from this intelligence, summaries, digests, recommendations. You rarely disagree. And here is the moment every person at your rank eventually reaches where the existential weight of it lands fully. You are not managing the civilization. You are a cell in it. A functioning and important cell, but a cell nonetheless in an organism of incomprehensible scale. The civilization breathes, processes, grows, repairs damage, roots around blockages, and redistributes resources with the elegance of metabolism. It is alive, not metaphorically, but in every meaningful sense of the word, and you are part of it. Here is the part no one tells you about when you sign the offer letter. Even a Type 3 civilization cannot win. Not against the real enemy, entropy. The second law of thermodynamics is not a guideline or a challenge to be engineered around. It is the fundamental operating principle of the universe. It says with mathematical certainty that useful energy only flows in one direction, from ordered to disordered, from hot to cold, from structured to diffuse. Every computation the galaxy-scale AI runs produces waste heat. Every star harvested, every black hole tapped, every engineered nebula ignited produces heat ultimately radiating into the void, and the void is cooling. The universe is expanding. Galaxies are drifting apart. The distance between structures grows. Eventually, not tomorrow, not in a million years, but eventually the useful energy available to any civilization will approach zero. This is the horizon that Type 3 civilizations are racing toward, not expanding into, racing against. The highest ranks, the ones above where this story ends, are not thinking about galactic logistics anymore. They are thinking about the end of everything and asking, what do you do when you control a galaxy and the galaxy isn't enough? Some theoretical answers exist. Manipulating the topology of space-time to concentrate remaining energy, migrating entire civilizational substrates into configurations that require less energy to think. Building toward a final computation, a last act of intelligence so vast and so deliberately structured that it encodes everything the civilization ever understood, not survival. Something more like legacy, like a message carved into the physics of a dying universe for no one or for whoever comes after, or simply because intelligence chooses to mean something anyway. The highest-ranking individuals in your civilization are not powerful because they control the most energy. They are powerful because they have the clearest view of what the energy is actually for. Come back. Come back from the galactic AI and the engineered nebulae and the black hole power plants and the civilizational metabolism and the thermodynamic horizon. Come back to something smaller. You here now. A single species on a single planet burning fossil fuels and arguing about quarterly earnings, launching the occasional probe into a solar system we haven't visited yet. 0.72 on the Kardashev scale. And it would be easy to feel small, to see the trajectory from here to Type 3 and experience it as a yawning gap, a humiliation, a reminder of how cosmically irrelevant we are right now. But that's not quite the right reading. Because every civilization that ever reached Type 1 started somewhere. Every stellar asset manager was once a child who looked up at the sky and asked why the stars were there. Every galactic intelligence emerged eventually from something that made fire and thought it was magic. The ladder is real. The ladder is long. And maybe the most honest thing that can be said about intelligence anywhere in the universe at any scale is that it is what the cosmos does when it wants to understand itself. Not conquer, not consume, understand. Maybe the final purpose of all that energy harvesting, all that stellar engineering, all that civilizational metabolism is not power. Maybe it's the same thing it's always been. A species, huddled around warmth, telling each other stories about the dark, trying to make sense of it for a little while longer, before the lights go out.